We have a German hip-hop band called Kinderzimmer Productions,
Mm-hmm.
and they had their last concert because they said, we're now too old for hip-hop. We can't sing what we were singing about 15 years ago.
Right.
So they stopped. They gave their last concert, which will be in the same show as The Story About You.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, because I was introduced to your first album just 2 weeks ago, actually.
Right.
And thought, because of what you've done in the past, or in the near past, you've gone away from hip-hop a
Mm-hmm.
bit. So is that maybe the same idea behind it, that you're grown out of hip-hop now?
I understand why some artists feel like they're a bit over hip-hop. I mean, obviously the Beastie Boys put out this instrumental record as their last record, because I know them quite well, Adam Horowitz, Ad Rock, and he said that he just felt like it's hard to just rap about stuff anymore when you reach a certain age or you feel a certain level of maturity. Then you have someone like KRS-One and Chuck D that's still putting out records. So for me, I produced hip-hop records, and especially on my first album that was definitely more hip-hop oriented, but as a producer it's quite easy. You can be any age because you're not the one who has to stand in front of the mic talking about stuff. So you can be, I'm sure at the age of 50, DJ Premier will still be making great hip-hop beats, and probably Timbaland will, and everyone else. And the good thing about being a hip-hop youth culture, which it is youth culture, you can find the next artist or someone to be the face of your music. The reason that I got away from hip-hop on my second record, I think more was just because, for a number of reasons, I think DJing hip-hop, playing for 10 or 12 years in New York nightclubs, are just, hearing the same thing and playing the same thing for that long, you get a little bit burnt out on it. And also, my first record, I was on Elektra Records. I had a big corporate bank checkbook to pay Mos Def and MOP and Ghostface, and to have that in the second album, I didn't have a deal. I got dropped by my label, so I was just making records with friends, and Lily Allen, Amy Winehouse, Tiggers, people I was working with at the time on their records that were just coming over and doing me a favor and singing for free. So kind of all those reasons sort of went into it. But I still love hip-hop, and I still on my label that I have, Alido Records, we have Rhymefest and Wale, and I just did a track with Nas for his new album. And I still love hip-hop and working with rappers. I just think there was a few reasons my record went in a different direction.
Mm-hmm. As one can read everywhere, you started DJing very early. And what was the initial moment where you thought you wanted to produce something? Because I don't know how the feeling is to say, oh, I want to produce something, or I want to write a song myself. Mm-hmm. How did that come about? What was the initial moment for that?
Well, I started DJing in New York nightclubs when I was about 16, 17, mostly hip-hop nightclubs, and kind of made a name for myself over 5 years. Before that, I had played guitar in bands and kind of just, made demos, but nothing good. In fact, it was mostly crap. And then I think that I got somebody who used to come to the clubs where I DJ, because at that time I was making a name for myself playing everything from hip-hop, sort of Biggie, Jay-Z, to funk and soul, Sly and the Family Stone, and then also incorporating AC/DC and the White Stripes and Rolling Stones and stuff like that into the set. So this guy came up to me and was like, I love the way you DJ. I don't know if you produce music or not, but I have this singer that I've signed, and I think that her sound, I don't know what it is yet, but it should sound like your DJ set, a kind of mixture of hip-hop, funk, and rock. So I was lucky that I was in a place to be DJing. I had a forum to play in front of people, and the people that if I impressed someone a certain night, that could have been somebody from a record label or that kind of thing, who enjoyed the way I DJ'd. So that's how I got working on producing my first record, this girl, Nika Costa, who was on Virgin, from DJing. And, I was DJing in a nightclub in London 2 years ago, and there was this girl, this kind of precocious girl, talking loud about my music, and I overheard her talk about her stuff, and she said that her influences were the Specials, Jay-Z and Dizzy Rascal, and so I asked her for a demo. It was Lily Allen, and it was just the thing of being really lucky to DJ in nightclubs, because I did meet 50% of the people that I might not have met otherwise. And I think that there's that aspect of it. There's the aspect of, as a DJ, what makes people move, and what kind of from a rhythmic point of view, it's kind of important. A lot of great DJs have gone on to become great producers like Chad Hugo from the Neptunes and Dr. Dre and Jelly Bean and people like that. So I guess I'm acting as if it's some really logical evolution. Like if you have two turntables, then you're automatically going to be a good producer. But I think there are things that work in your favor that you can use it as a tool in that way.
That's what I thought actually about your Here Comes the Fuzz album, because I'm not really that into hip hop.
Right.
But I thought this album has got a flow.
Right.
Good mood. You
Right.
can dance to it, and there's this funk sound in it as well. So
Yeah.
that might come from your...
I think so. I think it was basically for my first record. I wanted to make a record. It was a bit overambitious, considering probably my talent as a producer at the time, to think that in 45 minutes I wanted to fit in what it would sound like to hear a 4-hour DJ set of mine, because I would never cram that many genres into a 40-minute DJ set. But obviously you're making a CD, so you don't have the luxury of having 4 hours of music. And then also I had to do it with all new songs. So say I wanted to get the vibe that, yes, I play disco, funk, soul, a little bit of rock, but you know, whereas in that sense I'd be playing, in a DJ set I'd be playing the Jackson 5, Quincy Jones, the Rolling Stones and Biggie. All of a sudden I have to try and make songs that are never going to be as good as that, and but to represent each of those genres. So that's what that album was, trying to fit down a 4-hour DJ set of mine into 45 minutes of original music. And times it sounds a bit disjointed, but it does have a bit of an arc, and I think as a DJ that's an important thing. I think even when I sit down every night before we go on stage to write our set list, I think as a DJ, a good DJ has a good sense of the arc of a set and when to put the slow songs and the good songs, so it always feels like it's continually building.
So how was the idea born to use Boney M as a sample for We?
Yeah, they were the German band Boney M, aren't they? I was watching Boogie Nights, the film, and there was just a scene in it. I think he's cleaning the kitchen in the beginning of the film in the roller rink. And I just heard those strings that don't, and I was just like, this is brilliant. So I remember waiting till the end of the movie. I didn't recognize the name, so I went out and bought the soundtrack. It wasn't on the first Boogie Nights soundtrack. It was on like the second Boogie Nights, Volume 2. I remember just like hunting that song down. And as soon as I heard it, I was just like, oh, I can't wait to use this on a beat. And kind of tried it with a few different things, and then I had it on this beat, and I thought Ghostface Killer would be great for it, because I love Wu-Tang, I love what he does, but he's one of the few people that can sort of rhyme over like kind of swinging disco beats and not sound cliche. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't sound like, you know, Welcome to Miami or Getting Jiggy with It. So he called me up and he's like, yeah, I like the track, and I never met him. Because sometimes in hip hop you send someone the track and they're just like, you know, 2,000 miles away, and he goes, yeah, I'm thinking like Saturday Night Fever, like that John Travolta shit. And I was like, yeah, cool, man, like whatever. So it was brilliant. At the time, Ghostface he still is one of my favorite rappers ever. So to have heard him over one of my own tracks for the first time was just like, it's like Christmas. And that's why when I did the Amy Winehouse song, You Know I'm No Good, when we first heard it, I just knew instantly that he was the right rapper for it. You know, the label had a few ideas about this one, and well, it's Amy Winehouse that should be Mos Def because it's like, it makes sense. And I was like, no, this is like a Wu-Tang beat with like horns on it. So I called up Ghostface manager, and he's like, cool. And he liked it so much that he took the whole song and made a song out of it on his album, where he rapped 3 verses and just left her in the choruses. So it's kind of amazing, honestly, that happens. Like your heroes, and they hear a piece of music of yours they like so much, they want to do a remix. Jay-Z, the same thing with Rehab, you know. I remember when Jay-Z retired, I was all upset because I was like, I never got to do a track with Jay-Z, you know. By the time I'd become known or whatever, he had retired. And then he told my friend, he was like, make sure you tell Mark I want to rap over that Rehab track. He's like, and I'm taking all the publishing, just like saying something silly. And yeah, when I first heard Jay-Z's rap over Rehab, I was just like, God, I can't believe if you had told me when I was 18 years old, when I first bought Jay-Z's first album, Reasonable Doubt, and was DJing in hip-hop clubs in New York, that one day he'd be rapping over some song that I made. It just seems surreal.
Yeah, I can imagine. When I was going through all the stories that were written about you, it's like, you know, you can't have Mark Ronson without name dropping of celebrities.
Yeah.
Is that, I mean, is that really like you're in the position to call anyone you want to work with him, or?
Well, I think if anything, it's probably because of the past year, the work of like the Amy record, and people are always like, he's so well connected, he knows Amy Winehouse and Lily Allen. Well, when I met them, they weren't famous at all, and I know them because those are the people I work on music with, and because I spend so much of my time, nearly all of my time, working on music, and obviously some of the people that I work with are more well known than others, but mostly kind of famous. It seems like, yeah, that it's all. I must be this incredibly well-connected person. And I don't really know. I mean, I guess if the people that you work with are famous, whatever your job is, it's going to look like you're well-connected. I don't know. I'm not... I wouldn't call up... wouldn't try and use my powers to be like, yeah, get me Britney Spears on the phone. I have to tell her something. It's just, you know, it's just the people that I'm friends with happen to be respected for their music.
You seem to come from a wealthy background family.
Yeah.
So does that affect your work because you might be successful with your work because you might have money in the background? Is that
no, I never
creativity?
I mean, I definitely came from a privileged background, and you know, I'm not going to pretend that I came from something that I wasn't, but my mother's very strict and always instilled like a strong value system in us. So we always had to work every summer, and you know, when I left college to do music, I didn't get any money from anyone. It wasn't like I was sitting on some trust fund to build a recording studio. Everything that I did, I worked for, and even in the early days of when I set up my label, Alito Records, you know, we had needed a certain amount of money income per month to keep the lights on, and we didn't have any, so I'd end up DJing like Martha Stewart like Christmas parties and like really obnoxious stuff to do that, because you know it's not only the fact that I didn't get money from my family or anything like that. It's more like I wouldn't be able to be proud of my achievements if I knew that I'd done it subsidized by someone else anyway, you know. Not to say that some great, you know, arts haven't, you know, the entire Renaissance was funded by patron of the arts, but at the same time, I think that just for my own, just for my own state of mind, that I know that I did it by myself.
When you were like 16, you were working for the Rolling Stone for a while, so you might have had a look into the journalism.
Yeah, when I was 12, 13 and 14, I worked every summer at Rolling Stone magazine, and yeah, I did think that at one time I did want to be a journalist. I mean, I loved music so much, and I hadn't quite figured out what I wanted to do with it. I just knew that I had to be involved in music somehow, and I used to write for like heavy metal fanzines, like called Metal Madness, and I would work for some hip-hop ones like Ego Trip, and I just loved writing about music. But then what would happen is, if I had to write a bad review, say, of some rap group's new record, and then I knew like that next Friday I was going to be DJing the club, and of course I was going to see him because he comes to the club every Friday, I didn't have the thick skin for it and didn't really want to get in the middle of a fist fight, so I just left it alone. And then as I got more serious about music, I realized that I couldn't really get that. It's hard. I mean, there's nothing more sort of obnoxious than like reading a piece by a music journalist. I think the worst one I ever read was this guy, Sacha Frere Jones. You know him? He's a famous critic for the New York magazine. And he was talking about some band that he went to the show, and they weren't very good because it was very soulless. There was no funk in it. This is a white journalist, by the way. And then he goes into the fact that when I was in a band, see my band, and you're just like, you can't, I mean, there's nothing worse than reading like a music journalist that wants to tell you about his stuff in the middle of an article. I'm sure there's plenty of talented musicians that are also journalists, but there's one thing and there's another thing of like actually forcing it down your throat in their journalism.
Yeah. So journalists a lot of time made up some stories. What I was thinking when I was reading about how you were raised up with your family and your mother, I was thinking, okay, you have a Jewish background and you were raised in Jewish tradition.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, there was this party life they are writing about, all these parties that happen at your parents' house. So does the Jewish side and the party side fit together?
I don't think they have anything to do. The religion has anything to do with that. I mean, it's not like we're extremely like orthodox and pious. I mean, I don't think being Jewish had anything to do with the partying or not, whether we're Catholic or not. Strict religion is what it is. But no, I don't think so. I don't even know like quite how to answer that.
Does religion still speak to you?
Yeah, it does. I like especially the traditionalism of it. Do you know what I mean? Like a heritage, a lineage of something that's important that's passed down through generations. You know, I believe in God, and I think that that's important, but and it's not so much necessarily like it's as much that as I think feeling part of a tradition.
Mm-hmm. I was talking to Adele 4 weeks ago.
Adele?
Adele.
Oh, yeah.
So I was doing a story about her. And we were talking about you as well.
Right.
So, and she said, oh, he's sexy.
Right.
Do you think Mark Ronson is sexy?
I don't know. I don't really think about it when I look in the mirror. I know when you go to play our shows and there's like a 14-year-old girl on the front row and she's like, I love you, Mark Ronson. And you hear like that voice. And yeah, I know that, you know, look into the shows and like 60-70% of the audience are girls and we're playing like jazz, funk, indie covers with trumpets. So it's like quite unusual. But yeah, it's something that's obviously there, but I don't spend a lot of time thinking about. I mean, I don't want to sound ridiculous because, like, you speak to Johnny Depp. I mean, you see interviews with Johnny Depp, who's sort of a brilliant actor and a beautiful man, and he's observed as one of the most beautiful men in the world. And then you see him say in an interview, like, they're like, "What do you think of being a sex symbol?" He's like, "Well, you know, like, I don't know. I don't really look in the mirror at all." And you're just like, "You're full of shit, man. You know you look in the mirror, dude. Like, come on, just face it. You're good looking, you know it." Yeah, it's just something that's there, and if you dwell on it, you'll look like a dick and you'll always be preening yourself in front of a mirror or something.
But to be honest, she also said you're too old for her.
That I'm what?
You're too old for her.
Yeah, she said that too, yeah, I'm sure. She goes, I remember her saying things, I remember reading an article, and I hang out with Adele quite a bit. She's a good friend. She's like, she's what, 19, right? She was like, yeah, it's funny, like I hang out with Mark Ronson all the time. I always thought like he's my age, but he's really old. He's 32. I was like, thanks for that.
But she's fun anyway.
Yeah.
No, she was also talking about your work, and what was interesting was that she said you had known her before she had even known that she was a singer. Do you really know her before, or how did you come together to work with her?
I don't think so. I had heard about her. And Richard Russell, who owns XL Records, said, we've got this girl, Adele, and she knows she's got this one song she wants you to produce. Which I thought was quite like, shows a strong sense of vision at 18 years old to just be like, this is the one song I want Mark Ronson to produce. And she was right. She came in and it was like, she even had more foresight into it than I did because it was just her electric piano playing and singing the song. And I just heard, I kind of was having trouble hearing it. Then as soon as I got in, I was almost like, halfway into my work on the song is when I was like, oh, now I know why she knew that this was the song I was supposed to produce. And I was quite impressed by that, you know?
She's brilliant. I like it. She's fun, also fun. And Cold Shoulder was the first record that really stuck in my head.
Yeah.
So I really thought, brilliant one.
Yeah, I took a long time on that song too because the arrangement kept changing and I kept wanting to make it. It was like, it's not special enough. It's not special enough. Like I'd need to take it here or change the arrangement. So finally I feel like we got it to a place where I'm proud of it.
As we were talking about sexiness, what, in your words, what is maleness for you?
Maleness?
Being a man.
I don't know. To me it can mean anything. I don't think there's any one definition of male rather than having, you know, the appropriate organs. I think that there's so many people that embody maleness in so many different ways, from Daniel Craig to Anthony Hegarty. Do you know what I mean? It's like there's sort of there's no one defining sort of male image for me. You know, it's not like Michelangelo's David. It's like really maintain the test of time as the ultimate male body form.
Talking about Daniel Craig, what's your favorite Bond song then?
I think probably Goldfinger. And of the modern ones, A View to a Kill, Duran Duran one.
Really?
Yeah.
Because you're working with them in the future, or really?
No, I just I've always loved Duran Duran. Duran Duran were the first band that I remember being properly obsessed over, like having the posters and the sticker books. It was like Duran Duran from about the age of 10 to 13, and then it was Guns N' Roses from 13 to 16, you know? I just thought they were brilliant. And it's just a really memorable song, "With You to a Kill."
When I heard Valerie for the first time, I really thought it's a piece from the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
Then I found out it's the Zootones.
Right.
Then I listened to the Zootones songs and thought, wow, what a song. How did you find a beauty in that song and thought about making it the Valerie that you and Amy did?
To be honest, I have to give Amy the credit for that, because all the songs on my album I picked myself and told the artists, and maybe gave them a choice between two songs or whatever, but I picked all the songs. And then I told Amy, because Amy's such a very specific type of voice and singer, she can only sing something she loved. I was like, is there any song you want to sing? And it has to be kind of a new rock song, because that's the theme of the record. I want to stay with the theme. Amy doesn't listen to any modern music. And she was like, well, I like this song, Valerie by the Zootones. And I was like, okay. And I listened to it and I was like, well, let's try it. Like, I didn't really hear it either at first. And then we went to the studio in Brooklyn with the Dat Kings, which was really interesting because they had played on her whole album, but she hadn't met them yet, because me and Amy had done all the arrangements and the demos with me playing everything, and she had to go back to England. So I went to the studio with the Dat Kings and cut the records without her. So it was really interesting going there to do Valley. The album Back to Black had already been out for 3 months, and here she is meeting this band for the first time that played on her whole record. And we just went in and wrote the chart out of the chords and laid it down. And as soon as she started singing, I was just like, oh yeah, now I understand. Like, this is definitely special. Do you know what I mean? It's funny, even the Zootones, I don't think the Zootones liked our version when they first heard it either, which is quite weird to me, because it's like, not that everyone should like every cover, though. I don't have a ridiculous ego, but come on, it's Amy singing, it's brilliant arrangement. It's like, what's not to like? I guess they were just a bit like maybe sort of Liverpool-y, like, oh, it's rubbish compared to ours thing. But now, I mean, they've bought a new house from it. I think they like it a bit more.
So you've paid so much?
Oh yeah. Or someone made a joke that, like, well, because of all the covers on the record, because, you know, all the original writers, not like they really, Chris Martin desperately needs the money, but it was this funny picture of like Paul Weller, Tom York, and like the Zootones driving their gold Rolls Royces down Mark Ronson Boulevard, like just waving to each other. It's quite a ridiculous thing to say.
Actually, I never was a big fan of Robbie Williams, but the Rootbox album was the first one I thought, yeah, that's cool music, I like it.
Right.
And I found out that you were involved.
I did a few songs. I did Love Light and King of the Bongo and Keep On and
Good Doctor.
Yeah, Good Doctor. I really like I always liked Robbie since the first time I heard Millennium, which has the James Bond You Only Live Twice string sample in it, and I just think he's got a great sense of like the British sort of cheeky pop melody in a way, and he brings that to his music. So when he asked to work, I went to his house and we just talked about some ideas, and hopefully we'll get to work again sometime, because I do have a lot of respect for him as an artist. Yeah, I've become actually better friends with her now since we worked on the music than it was in the beginning, because it was quite strange. Like, it was the first thing I'd ever done on that kind of level of working with like a pop superstar. So I was quite nervous going in, and I was probably insecure because I hadn't had any success yet at that point either. So maybe didn't feel like my voice was as worthy as hers. Do you know what I mean? Like in like arguing over direction. And she really knows what she wants. So there was a few times when we were working on stuff and she was like, well, my word's the last word, kind of that's what goes, you know? And I mean, I didn't have a problem with it because it's like, yeah, it is your record at the end of the day, and if she's that strong about her vision. But I think I was just intimidated by that process of working on with somebody that famous for the first time. And now, now she'd come to our shows in LA, and we definitely become friendly and stuff like that. I like the stuff on the record. I think, honestly, nothing to do with her. I don't think it's as good as what I would have done with her now, because I don't think I quite learned the few tools that would have probably made me a better producer today at that time, even though it was only 2.5 years ago. I just feel like I just understand records a bit better.
Interesting. I also, it's so funny, I came across East Village Radio,
Mm-hmm.
and after that I found out that you have a show there,
Mm-hmm.
so you're everywhere now.
Mm-hmm.
Radio, I think, is sort of a dying medium.
Yeah.
Because have MP3s and everything. So why do you think it has a second coming with the web now, with web radio, or why do you still do the show?
Well, in America, radio is terrible. Like, I mean, regular commercial radio is awful. They play the same songs. It's terrible. I don't know what it's like in Germany, but I know in England, radio is quite good. XFM and Radio 1 and certain stations that really play a wide variety of music. And I think maybe because pop music is a bit more varied, but you could turn on the radio station here, the Klaxons next to Jay-Z, next to the Last Shadow Puppets, next to Wiley. Do you know what I mean? I think there's more interesting music. I think people are switching over to satellite radio in America because regular radio is so bad. And I think internet radio is an entirely different medium because it's completely non-commercially propelled, so you can have people really just purely playing stuff that's good and because they like it, which is why radio started in the first place. So I think it's cool. It's kind of like what pirate radio was 20 years ago. And I know I listened to East Village Radio to just to hear stuff that I've never heard before. I think internet radio is something that's quite exciting and probably will be maybe the main sort of form of radio like 50 years from now.
So you still enjoy doing it?
I love doing it. It's the only time that I get to play. In DJing club sets, you have to play a certain level of energy of music because you're playing people to dance. And I love doing the internet show because I can play anything from, Cold War kids to the cool kids to Deerhoof to, Del the Funky Homo Sapien. I just really enjoy it.